Ho, ho, ho. I'm going to tell you a little story. It's a Finnish Christmas story written by Zacharias Turpilius about Christmas with the Goblins and the Finnish tradition of a Yule goat. Now, a Yule goat is a person dressed up as a goat who brings Christmas presents to children in Finland. And this story was written when there was a great famine in Finland. On Christmas Eve, the pretty little house at the corner of the street was brilliantly lighted. A large Christmas tree stood upon the table, its shining boughs covered with fine stars, sweets, and apples. The children within the doors of the house found it impossible to keep still whenever anyone knocked or made a noise outside. They had not to wait long, however, before the Yule goat arrived and asked, as usual, whether the children had been good. With one voice, they all answered, "Yes." "Very well," said the Yule goat, "but I must tell you that this year I bring only half as many Christmas boxes as usual. Still, if you have been good, you shall be boxed." "Why have you only half as many this year?" asked the children. "I will tell you why," said the Yule goat. "I come from far north, and on my way here I peeped in at the door of so many poor cottages and saw so many little children who have not even a piece of bread for Christmas Eve, that I have given half my Christmas boxes to them. Was I not right in doing so?" "Yes, yes, that was right. That was kindly," cried the children. But Friedrich and Lotta held their tongues. For Friedrich was used to getting 20 Christmas boxes and Lotta 30. And it seemed to them very unfair that they should not get as many as usual. "Was I not right in doing so?" asked the Yule goat for the second time. Friedrich turned on his heel and answered sulkily, "What a shabby Christmas this is. I'm sure the very goblins have a better one than you have brought us this year." Then Lotta began to pout in her turn and said, "Shan't I get more than 15 Christmas boxes? I am sure the goblins will have a far better Christmas tonight." "Very well," said the Yule goat. "If you think so, I can take you to the goblins at once." And saying this, he seized Friedrich and Lotta, one by each hand, and carried them away in spite of their struggle to get loose. On and on they went, quick as lightning through the air. Before the children had time to speak, they found themselves in the middle of a large forest, surrounded by snow. It was frightfully cold. The snow whirled round them so fast they could scarcely see the lofty fir trees which stood in the darkness about them. And close by, they heard the wolves howl. Then the Yule goat left them at once. He had no time to wait, for he had many children still to visit that evening who deserved his coming far more than Friedrich and Lotta. Both the children began to scream and cry. But the more they shouted, the nearer the wolves howled. Come, Lotta, said Frederick. We must try to find some cottage in the forest. I think I see a light over there amongst the trees, said Lotta. Let us go to it. No, I'm sure it isn't a light, said Friedrich. It is only icicles that glitter in the darkness upon the trees. I think I see a great mountain before us, said Lotta. Can it be Rostakais? The Trolls Mountain? You know, where Sampo Lapalil rode on the wolf of the Mountain King? What nonsense you talk, answered Friedrich. Rostakais is at least 450 miles from our home. But come on, we will go up the mountain. We can see better from there. They scrambled through huge snowdrifts and climbed over bushes and fallen trees, and after a time they arrived at the mountain. There was a little door in the mountain, and through this a faint light shone. Friedrich and Lotta followed this light, and soon discovered to their great amazement that it was Rostakais. And now they were actually with the goblins. It was too late to turn back, and the wolves were so close behind them that they almost peeped in through the door. Full of fear and amazement, Friedrich and Lotta stopped close within the door and saw before them a large hall in which trolls and goblins were keeping Christmas. There were many thousands of them assembled, all very short, hardly 2 feet in height, dressed in gray with wrinkled faces, moving quickly about, just as they were described in the story of Sampo Lapalil. They were not afraid of the dark, for instead of candles, they had frozen glowworms and rotten tree twigs, which shone like phosphorus in the dark. It is a peculiarity of all trolls and goblins in the world that they hate light. For this reason, they were holding a feast at Christmastide. Having observed that the days were becoming shorter and shorter as the end of the year approached, and the nights were longer and longer. And they thought, as they think every Christmas, for one is apt to believe what one wishes to take place, that at last there would be no more day, only one long night. And this idea made them so wildly happy that they danced in the mountain and kept a merry Christmas after their own fashion. For they were all heathens and did not know of any better way of celebrating the festival. This year, the gigantic, cruel Mountain King was not with the goblins. He had left his realm here in the north to the king of sin and darkness, whose name was Mundus, and who was now sitting in the midst of the hall. By his side sat the troll queen. Her name was Caro, which is rather like a dog's name. And they both had long beards. King Mundus now rose from his throne and made a very grand speech to the assembled trolls, in which he informed them that light would soon be at an end and that shadows of darkness would spread forever over the world, which henceforth would be governed by trolls. All the goblins and trolls shouted, "Hurrah! Long live our great King Mundus and his beautiful Queen Caro. Hurrah! Sin and darkness forever. Hip, hip, hurrah! The king said, "Where is my chief watchman, whom I sent to the top of the mountain to see whether any light still remains in the world?" The watchman came and said, "Sir King, your power is great. All is darkness." After a while, the king said again, "Where is my watchman?" And the watchman came. "Sir King," he said, "far down on the horizon, I see a small light, just like a twinkling star, coming out of a black cloud." The king said, "Go back to the top of the mountain." After a time, the king said, "Where is my watchman?" And the watchman came. But now the king saw that the watchman trembled and was quite blind. The king asked, "My faithful watchman, why do you tremble, and how is it you have become blind?" The watchman answered, "Sir King, the clouds have dispersed, and a star, larger and brighter than any other star, beams on the firmament. The sight of it struck me with blindness and made me tremble." The king said, "What does that mean? Has not light perished? And does not darkness reign forever?" All the trolls and goblins round about stood dumb and awestruck. At last one amongst them said, "Sir King, here by the door stand two children of man. Let us ask them. Perhaps they know more than we." "Bring the children here," said the king. In an instant, Friedrich and Lotta were dragged before the throne, and it is easy to imagine how frightened they felt. The queen noticed their great alarm and said to one of the female goblins who stood near the throne, "Give those poor children some dragon blood and some black beetle shells to refresh themselves with. The poor things can't open their mouths." Eat and drink, said the female goblin. But the children did not feel inclined to do that. The king now said to the children, "You are in my power, and if I like, I can change you into crows or spiders. But I will give you a riddle instead, and if you can guess its meaning, I shall have you safely conducted back to your home. Do you agree to this?" "Yes," said the children. "Very well," said the king. "Why is it that a light rises in the darkest night of the year, when darkness and trolldom reign over the world, and all light seems to be gone? Far in the east shines a star, beaming with a luster far more beautiful than all other stars, and threatening my power with destruction. Tell me, children, what does that star mean?" Lotta said, "It is the star that rises on Christmas night over Bethlehem in Judea, giving light to the whole world." The king asked, "Why does it shine thus?" Friedrich answered, "Because this night our Savior is born, and he is the light that lightens up the whole world. From this night the light increases and the days become longer." The king began to tremble violently on his throne. and ask again, what is the name of this Master and King of Light who is born tonight and who comes to save the world from sin and darkness? Both the children answered, Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Hardly had they pronounced these words when the mountain began to shake and tremble and fall together, and a storm wind, rushing through the large hall, overturned the king's throne, and the star shone into the darkest dens and clefts. All the trolls and goblins disappeared like shadows and smoke, till there was nothing left but the Christmas tree of ice, which began to glitter and melt. And high above, in the air, the voices of angels were heard like sounds of harps. The children covered their faces with their hands, not daring to look up, and they knew nothing more of what happened in the mountain. When they woke up, they were both in their beds. The fire burnt merrily, and the old nurse, Kajai, who always used to wake them up, stood near the little beds and cried, "Make haste and get up to go to church." Friedrich and Lotta sat up and looked with amazement at Kajai, wondering if she could possibly be only 2 feet high and wear a beard and want to give them dragon blood and black beetle shells. Friedrich and Lotta looked at each other, but they did not dare to tell Kajai that they had been present at the Goblins' Christmas. Perhaps she would not have believed them, but would have laughed and told them that they had been sleeping in their own beds all through the night. You don't know, and I don't know. And in fact, nobody knows how it was. But if you know, and if I know, then we will pretend not to know. One thing I know, and that is that sooner or later, ungrateful children always come to the goblins. For the king of sin and darkness lays hold of them before they are aware of it. It is well for them, then, if they can see a star rising above the darkness of the world, and can name a name before which all that is wicked in the world falls down and perishes. Friedrich and Lotta never forgot the Goblins' Christmas. They not only missed all their Christmas boxes, but they were also ashamed of themselves. They resolved that they would become good children also. Have they kept the resolution? I don't know. But I hope they have. When you see them, you can ask